Hi guys, it's Ray here from Man City Fan TV. I'm in beautiful sunny Manchester this morning. It's Sunday morning and yeah, you can see lovely skies, and I'm just going to travel down Oxford Road right now and show you some of the sights. You can see some of the cranes and some building work going on. Quite a bit of building work going on around Manchester at the moment, and in student land you see plenty of students around. Might be a bit early for most of them on a Sunday morning. You can see Manchester Metropolitan University behind me, and I'm just walking down to the Royal Northern College of Music because both my kids are musicians, and this morning and early part of the afternoon they're over there at the Royal Northern College of Music to do some percussion. Both play drums and they do other instruments as well, and I think probably once a month I'll be down here in Manchester taking them to some recitals or practices and whatever. So that's part of the job of being a father, taking your kids here and there early on a Sunday morning. But you can see beautiful skies, beautiful weather, nice and peaceful and quiet. Just walking past I think a bar on my left, a few shops here, then you've got the university and then the Royal Northern College of Music. Today I'm going to talk about the proposed expansion of the ground of the Etihad Stadium to 62 or 63,000 seat stadium, and there's lots of things to consider and lots of things that are interesting, and I put the question out a few hours ago on Twitter just to see how people felt about it, and thanks everybody. I had absolute tremendous response, loads of stuff. Lots of interesting stuff, people for it, people against it, people wanting other things done as well. So there's you know, quite a lot to think about and to discuss, and to see what the potential is. And once I get to a cafe, I'll have a sit down and do the video on the expansion of the stadium. So I decided to head into central Manchester instead. Lovely walk. Right, let's get cracking. Expansion of the stadium to 62 or 63,000 seater. Well, currently, as most of you are aware, we've got two long stands. I think it's the East and Colin Bell, and then at one side we've got a three-tier stand, which is the South stand. That's where I sit. I sit in the third tier with my kids, and on the other side we've got the North stand. The family stand, and that's got two tiers, so you know, you'd automatically think we could add a third tier on there. We had planning permission many years ago, and in fact when we did the first extension to the South stand, we could have extended at the other side as well, but the club chose not to do so. And so there's talk now of another 8,000 seats. There's some people say maybe we could, if we have something like safe standing, we could get to 12 or even 15,000 extra seats or you know, places for people to stand or sit. I'm not sure the club would go that far, so let's look at the first idea of up to 63,000 seats. Now apparently some Blues are telling me the reason for this is because Manchester City want to bid for a major finals like the Champions League, the Europa League, etc. And apparently to do so you've got to have at least 60,000 seats. I'm not 100% sure about that, but that's what Blues are telling me, and you can see the reasons behind that. You can see obviously the prestige involved, and your name's getting more and more spread around the globe. I mean, I have no idea, to be honest, how many people watch the Champions League final, but it could be you know, it could be running into billions. So to be able to have a Champions League final at our stadium would be absolutely fantastic for the club and for the owners, and you could argue for their project as well. So if that's one of the reasons. Other reasons you could say, obviously, I mean, on some games we do have the demand for those extra seats. I'd say more so in the league games and some of the big league games, and not as much in the cup. But I think if we get further in the Champions League, then we'd get bigger crowds as well. As we, you know, I think right now we're struggling a bit with with the group stages, because people are generally not as interested. They see it as more of a formality, although Lyon was a bit of a setback, but they generally see these games as non-competitive, and they tend to be waiting. I think most fans who are not going tend to be just waiting for when we get through to the knockout stages, and then they'd be more interested in coming. So yes, will we fill it? I think that's a question people are asking, because we're already getting these empty had jibes, even though, if I remember correctly, we're something in the region of, was it 98 or 95 or something percent to capacity. Basically, we're selling just about we're selling out just about every league game of the season, and actually I think one of the reasons we don't get to capacity on some games is because the opposition fans don't all use their allocation. Even at the United, for the derby, I think you could see pockets of seats where there were no United fans. So it would appear that they didn't sell all their allocation, or for whatever reason there was those empty seats. They're quite visible, and there's pictures of them. You can see them on TV as well. So there is that. People are worried about the empty had jibe, and to be honest, I don't really care. Sometimes I respond, but that's just having a bit of cheeky fun. But I wouldn't be worried about the empty had jibes, because, and anything else people want to throw at us that's off the pitch, because as I said, I said even 6 months ago, they can't beat us on the pitch, so they attack us for anything that's off the pitch. Idiots like Duncan Castles and some others, so-called journalists. It's not worth rising up to them anymore on Twitter, just to give them a wide berth. And don't, as I said, empty had, who cares? We're winning trophies, we're winning football matches, we're playing great football. So why should we let opposition fans get under our skin for things that are not going on the pitch? Stick to what's going on the pitch, and argue with us and about what's going on the pitch, and let your football do the talking. So will we fill it? That question again. As I said, things like Derby, Liverpool, some local Everton and some of the London teams, yes, I can see us getting close to the 60,000 and maybe a little bit more. And your smaller teams, maybe your Southamptons and Bournemouth, will still be in the 50 odd thousands. You got to remember, we're already practically at capacity for every home league game. So if we do have more seats available, then you'd naturally assume that more tickets would be sold. How many, we just don't know at the moment, and part of that's going to depend on the price. Now, I think we've got some disgruntled fans because season ticket prices went up last season. Okay, they've not gone up for a few years, but it felt, I think mine went up 10 quid or something. It felt unnecessary. I mean, the extra money the club is going to get, my reckoning, just back of a envelope reckoning, is about what, £750,000. It's not really worth it. And we're just given, apparently we're going to give Scudamore £250,000. It'd been better spent reducing the season ticket prices, and in fact I said it a while ago, I think it was a bit of an on goal from the club, to be honest, because if they'd reduced the season ticket prices by 10 quid instead of raising them by 10 quid, as I said, it would have cost them what, less than £750,000. It would cost them about £400,000 or £500,000 or something, assuming we still got 34,000 season tickets. I think some went up by more than a tenner, but it cost the club what, £500,000, and the goodwill that it gained with the fans would have been immeasurable. So I think it was the wrong thing to do. Depending on what we sell these tickets for, I think that's going to obviously affect how we fill them. Now, we could go down the sensible route, and we could just decide to have £200 season tickets. That'd be fantastic. You go into a game basically for a tenner a game, 11 quid a game, or whatever, 10.50 a game. Absolutely ridiculous price. That's what I'd do. If I was doing it, I'd say there's 8,000 seats there. We'll do 5,000 of them. We'll do a season card for 200 quid. Now, there's a risk, a potential risk to the club, that it's not going to be new people buying those season card tickets for 200 quid. It'll be current people who are paying £2.99 or £3.99. And they might just want to choose to relocate. But it would be fantastic if we could offer such a cheap price and really try and fill the stadium. And I think that potentially will help the atmosphere in the stadium. At the derby, it was an absolutely electric atmosphere. It's brilliant. But I think for some of the other games, in some of the league games where you're cruising, the atmosphere does tend to die down. Against Lyon, there was precious little, especially where I was sitting, because we didn't have enough fans in there. So yeah, we can get more fans in, bump up the atmosphere, get the safe standing. I think that's going to help to create a better atmosphere, get more people in, give cheaper tickets. It's all good and positive. The negatives, I mean, obviously we're going to have issues with more traffic. If more people are coming to games, if you're getting an extra 6,000 or 7,000 people at least at certain games, then that's going to add to the overloaded tram network, train network, and car parking. I think that's one of the issues that some fans have. Some beeping their horn quite a lot there. But that's one issue that a lot of fans have, is getting away from the ground, and it can take you 45 minutes to leave. One of the good things about doing videos and interviews after the game is that if we stick around for an hour, by the time we're leaving, the traffic's died down and we can get away quite easily. But if you're trying to get away as soon as the final whistle goes, it is a long, drawn-out process. I mean, I remember one European night I actually missed the game, and I was driving past the ground at the end of the game, and it took me an hour to get past the ground at the final whistle. So it was this was quite a few years ago, mind, but that was a real bummer, and I think that's a definite issue for the fans. Is getting away now. What can the club do? I'm not sure. I think it's an issue for the club, the police, possibly, and the council. They've got to find better ways to get away from the ground. There's a lot of fans, if you can imagine 60,000 fans all wanting to leave about the same time and going to the cars, getting on the tram, it's clogged up. So there's got to be something done, some way to look at that. How can we make a difference? I mean, keeping some city square open, that keeps some fans behind. They can have something to eat, something to drink. They can listen to some post-match reaction from presenters on the stage, and that'll keep a few hundred, maybe a couple of thousand, whatever, fans back in an extra half an hour, 45 minutes. So that also helps to alleviate the congestion. And it may be that City try and do something more in the ground, or maybe not in the ground, but in City Square or around there, just to put some entertainment on, and that might keep an extra few thousand fans back a little bit longer, and that will help with the congestion. Fans are complaining about other things. They said, let's get other things right first. I read something on Twitter today. Someone said, let's get other stuff right first before we look at increasing the capacity by 7,000 or 8,000. Get the website working better. I mean, that's horrible since we went over to Wix. We had, I think, one of the best websites going a few years ago, and it's a shambles. I mean, I avoid it. A lot of City fans that I know avoid the website unless they have to. Get the ticketing sorted out, get the ticketing better. I mean, I've had issues recently trying to upgrade concessionary season card tickets, and can't do it online. For whatever the reason is now, and it's an absolute palaver. I've got other fans complaining that they haven't got their season cards yet after 2 or 3 months since the start of the season. And other issues, toilets and cleanliness and getting food and drink at half time or before games, because the queues are massive. You get people leaving 10 minutes before half time just so that they can be first in the queue to get a drink or something to eat. So I mean, these other things, they've got to be improved upon. If we're going to increase the capacity of the stadium, then that's going to have obviously more additional pressure on all the facilities around the stadium, so we've got to improve them too. My opinion, I'd like to see this stadium capacity extended. I'd like to see safe standing, if that's at all possible, with these rail seats. I'd like to see cheaper tickets, whether that's like 200 quid for a season ticket, or you keep some tickets for locals. I don't know how possible that is, where you'll you'll sell these tickets for like 15 quid a pop, or 10 quid a pop for adults. That'd be absolutely fantastic. Keep something like 1,000 tickets, and it might just be for low-income households, and maybe you have to prove to get these tickets. You have to prove that you're on low income or whatever. You know, there must be something that we can do to encourage local fans who are going through hard times, tough times, to come to the ground and to watch games. I mean, they're part of the City family. I mean, you know, they're locals, and they might have been City supporters in the past. As I said, they might have fallen on hard times, tough times in these Austria times. The country seems to be going through, some sections of the country seem to be going through at the moment. So yeah, if we can get those fans back, and I'm sure that will help to improve the atmosphere and keep that, you know, keep it buzzing throughout games. And it'd be great if, you know, people can walk to the ground, walk home. You know, absolutely fantastic. Blues, if you you know, got any comments, you know, about the stadium expansion, just leave them in the comment section below. You can talk to us on Twitter. We're always welcome to have a, you know, discussion and debate with you on Twitter and on YouTube as well. And if you haven't already subscribed, it'd be great if you could subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to be notified as soon as new videos come out. See you around, Blues.